All right. How's it going, everyone? Keep letting us know where you're watching from. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, as always, to join us for these Zoom classes. We always have a lot of fun projects. Keep letting us know where you're watching from. I want to thank Michaels for having us on again. I am Joe with Siser North America. That's right. I always start my lessons here on how to properly pronounce Caesar. So say it with me. Caesar. So that's lesson number one. And if you walk away with anything, I always say that that's probably the most important. No. Yeah, thank you guys. I see everyone watching from all over the country. So thank you again. Keep letting us know where you're watching from. Take the time, cruise on in. We have a big class we're going to talk about today. So what I'm going to do, I think the last class I had here, I used Siser Easy PSV, which is our pressure sensitive vinyl, and I decorated a really awesome wood plaque. But a question we get all the time, because predominantly at Siser, our history, we have always been a heat transfer vinyl manufacturer. So that's what we do. And a lot of people now that know about us, they've done the normal decorating of garments, and they always try to push the boundaries with Siser heat transfer. And I always try to explain to them that it's a very volatile thing because these products are made for textiles. So I'm not discouraging anybody from going outside the box and testing things, but it's all kind of to be determined, the results. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to show you what I did and what I posted up. We're going to do two projects today, because one of which I was requested from Michael's do something pumpkin oriented. So this is one that we're going to show today, and this is a wood plaque. Catherine will let you know which wood plaque this is that I decorated with. But this design we're using has 5 colors of Siser easyweed electric, which is that very flashy, and you can tell it's obviously poor lit down here in my basement, but the electric finish is really, really unique. So I have 5 colors of Siser easyweed electric heat applied onto this plaque. And that's what we're going to show for one project. And then another project, I'm going to do another fun design all with Siser glitter. So this is 5 glitter colors of our heat transfer vinyl applied onto another plaque. So that's what we're going to do. And here are the blanks that I'm going to be using. So the circular one is Basswood Country Round. It's already in its package here. And then the other one is Wilson Basswood Plank. So it's just a flat plank. And again, these don't have anything on them to hang. Most of you probably know how to do that if you want to hang your design. Now,
Joe, you took my one job from me.
Well, you took too long. So everyone wants to know right away, where can I get it? What is it? Here we go, right?
All right.
More time. There's a lot more, right? Yeah, you already got. Can you give the links to the boards? We need them. All right, so I also want to go, before we get into it, just a little bit of a new addition that we started adding at your Michaels stores from Siser, outside the regular heat transfer that you see hanging up on the aisles. Now we have a little bit more to offer outside of just our materials. One of which that I know in a lot of my classes, I always show my favorite weeding tool, which is our Siser weeder. This tool is my favorite to weed out excess, whether you're using heat transfer vinyl or the decal vinyls. So now Michaels now carries the Siser weeder. This is an awesome, awesome tool. So that's what I'm going to use there. But what I wanted to show you, and what is really awesome that is now offered as well, is these 2 art files that I'm using today are actually going to be available, or they are available, in the brand new Siser clip artwork packs. So these are cuttable clip artwork packs. So we have 3 of them that are all different themes. So we have a sports themed one, and what's awesome is it is just a USB, and all the artwork is on there. And what happens when you get these books is in the inside, you can see all the different files that come on that USB. Again, this one is sports oriented. This one is holiday oriented, which is where these two files I'm using today are coming from. Again, I'm sorry for the light, but in it, you'll see the different holiday themes. So the two I'm going to use today are in this book. And then the last one is special occasions. So inside of it, it's got all sorts of fun SVG files. And there is, for each one of these file types, they are available in all sorts of different file types that are completely cuttable for any vinyl cutter you're using. But if you have a Silhouette or a Cricut, they're absolutely ready to go. They're multicolored, they're single color, and they're already vectorized and separated in cuts. I'm seeing question, can you use them for commercial use? Absolutely. So that's what they're for. So once you get them, they're yours. So that's what I'm going to be showing today, and maybe I can do a class down the line to go a little bit more in depth about actually showing you on screen and going in and manipulating and showing how you can just do the quick adjustments yourself. So that we're very, very excited about, because, you know, if you're like me, I like doing artwork, but in the same token, it's like sometimes it's easy to have it already done. So that's what we're going to be using today. I already have my designs cut. I always do my cutting first. And like I said, we'll do the pumpkin design first. And I'm going to show you layering all of the Siser easyweed electric directly on top of itself onto a wood plank using another brand new edition that's out now, which is the Siser Craft Heat Press. So I mean, we can switch angles if we need to, but just to show you, so that's a good shot. Here you go. This is the Craft Heat Press, 9 dimension, up on top right here. This is where you're going to go in and switch your temperature, your time, and then go back to your display. So right now I have it set to 315 degrees. Very important is this top right here is going to adjust your pressure up or down. And then what's great is it completely clamps down, giving you the flat, even pressure you need when you are applying any heat transfer vinyl. If you know anything or you followed anything we've ever shown you, I always express or stress how important it is that you need even, firm pressure when you're using heat transfer vinyl. And that is important when it is on something that is going to be laundered. Now, today's example, I'm going to be pressing on 2 pieces of wood, which is something that you're not going to necessarily wash. So that is where you have a little bit more wiggle room on the temperature you need to set, where your pressure's at, but you still want to make sure that it's a flat, even space. So if you're not using any wood planks like this, and maybe you have your own, just make sure where you're pressing has a flat, even surface as much as you can get. If you don't have one of these heat presses yet, don't worry. If you're using a home iron, if you're using the Easy Press, you can still absolutely do the exact same projects I'm going to show you today. I'm just going to use the heat press because it's new and Michael's now has it. So before I begin, does anyone have any questions on anything?
You answered the iron question, so I think we're pretty good.
Just constantly making fun of me. All right, what I'm going to do initially is I'm already going to take back my pressure. So my pressure was set for the project I did before. And now just a little, I mean, just to understand, obviously I'm dealing with wood plaques that are extremely thick, right? So you want to make sure that it's flat pressure. Now, when you're using a heat press like this, what's great is when it closes, this upper platen is kind of free flowing a little bit. So when it closes completely, it actually starts with the pressure in the center and works its way out. That's your best bet when it comes to a heat press. Some heat presses, especially clamshells, when they close here, they don't close completely flat. So if you have an odd shape and it closes too much down at the bottom and not enough at the top, you will deal with uneven pressure and you will deal with potentially having something peel off. So that is very important. That is a benefit of using a heat press that has accurate pressure gauge on it. Do we have any questions? Can you use a regular iron? Absolutely. Yep. If you have a regular iron or you have an easy press, just make sure that you have you're getting to the correct temperature. Make sure you're not using any steam in case it has a water reservoir in it. Just make sure you're using regular, just a normal setting, or rather no steam, but you want to make sure your setting is a little bit more towards the cotton setting. Between cotton and wool is about where you want to be. Okay. Now, I have 5 colors of easyweed electric to weed away. I did weed my second project already, but I did save this just to show those that have not used a heat press before and have not used maybe the easyweed electric. What is great about our easyweed line, and if you're using a heat press like we have next to us, is you can speed up your weeding process. As long as you have a good cut, what I'm going to show you is, okay, so I have my easyweed electric. I'm going to bring my pressure back down. Okay, when your heat press is on like it is here, what you're going to do is you're going to close the platen for a few seconds, and that's going to warm up that lower platen. Now, what that is doing is that pad that's on the lower platen is going to retain that heat. And when you're working with Siser easyweed electric or any of our easyweed family, what you could do is after you have that cut, you can lay it on that lower platen. And I mean, I know it's hard to gauge it, but I'm barely pulling at this. So when you have a lot of stuff to weed and you're using these products and you have your heat press on, you can use this trick to speed up your weeding process. And it's one of my personal favorite things to show people because for me, I don't have the patience for weeding. Some people enjoy doing it, but I like speeding that up. So using the easyweed or any of the easyweed family, you can do this with this heat press. So I'm doing 5 colors. Now what's very, very important though, is like example, this color right here, I know has really fine detail. So if it has fine detail, like sharp points or very small decal to it, then you want to make sure you try to avoid using the heat press trick, only because it's going to have a tendency to maybe lift it up. And if your cut isn't perfect, then you'll notice that it does lift up some of the detail that you don't want off of your carrier. And I think I have the same here, so I'm just going to weed this one off.
There's a good question, kind of for clarification. An easyweed electric is definitely still considered HTV.
Absolutely. Yep. So if you ever hear easyweed, so if you go to Michael's and you see easyweed, that is going to indicate that it is heat transfer vinyl. So anything that has heat transfer, or I mean easyweed in front of it is going to be a heat transfer vinyl. Now, I know it sounds confusing, and we tried, when we named these product lines, we tried to use the easy in it, and then when we brought on our easy PSV, very important, PSV, which is pressure sensitive vinyl, that is not heat transfer vinyl. So just, those are the two different lines that we have. We have our heat transfer vinyl and our PSV, which is our pressure sensitive. So, yep. All right, so I have 5 colors. All good to go. My wood plaque is good to go. I am going to dial this back up. I know I did that too quick. I just wanted to show you that trick because you want to make sure this is your heating element. So do not touch this while it's on. But this lower pad on the heat press has some cushion to it, and it will retain some of that heat. So that's why this is used to warm up that carrier of your easyweed electric. So I'm already going to bring this back, and then we're going to do a little bit of a judge on where the pressure should be. So I'm going to place my plaque on it. Now, if you're not using a wood plaque, that's what I'm showing you today. But what I'm basically expressing to you is try these things. We can't tell you every time if it's going to work or not. My only suggestion, though, is make sure you know the substrate you're going to try to heat apply on. because do not use something that you know will melt under high heat. So anytime you ever do a project that might not be what we recommend at Siser, you know, just because we say no doesn't mean that you need to always listen to it. But you want to also test it out, because we don't want you to ruin the substrate you bought. We don't want you melting. We don't want you to ruin the upper platen of your heat press or your home iron. So always do a test first. I'm going to grab just some parchment paper for a cover sheet, because that's still important to make sure you're using a cover sheet. All right, so as you can tell, I can completely close my heat press on top of the wood. It is a little bit lighter than I want, so I'm going to increase the pressure a little bit. So there you go. So now I think I'm at a perfect pressure for doing this easyweed electric project. So what I'm going to do first, we can only do one color at a time. And now what's great about what we're doing here versus a textile is, again, we don't have to worry about this washing off necessarily. Ideally, you're not going to want to do a decorative thing like this and put it outside. I'm not saying that you can't do that, but if you put it outside, that's a little bit more vulnerable to the elements, like direct sunlight or the chance of being rained on repeatedly. Then you might want to be a little bit more cautious about this. But if you're going to hang it inside or maybe underneath an awning in a little bit more in a protected area, then you should be completely fine.
Hey, Joe, will you remind us of the names of the colors of each one as you use them?
I will, but I can also promise that it might be a little different at Michael's. I'm so sorry. Okay, the first color I'm
Thanks, Joe.
the first color I'm using may be called easyweed electric orange at Michael's. That's what it's called here. So, all right, first one down, easyweed electric orange. Awesome question. I'm only going to tack this down for a few seconds just to make sure we're good, and then peel my carrier hot. Check that out. That's all it takes. Now, for those that know about our heat transfer vinyls like easyweed electric, you know when you're on a garment, you could do a 1 second tack. I didn't do a 1 second tack only because I wanted to make sure that this was actually a flawless victory first. So. All right, the next color that I'm going to be laying down is our easyweed electric red. You got to tell me yes or no, Catherine. I'm sorry.
Let me do a little extra digging for you, Joe.
I'm going to say it's easyweed electric red. So I'm going to tack this down. Maybe I'll try a 1 second tack. You guys think it'll work? Let's give it a go. Yes, absolutely. So 1 second is all it took for the easyweed electric red. That is down. Now it's very important to be cautious, and you'll see it in this next project I have after this one. With this easyweed electric, just a little sidebar too, even if you're using it for the actual purpose it's made for, which is textiles, you can layer easyweed electric directly on top of itself. For the next project, I'm going to explain something a little bit different. But for easyweed electric, you can layer even if you made a shirt to go along with this design. But it's also very important to know the order of layering, because I could lay this down, but because this upper part of this, I want to say easyweed electric white, it will go over the easyweed electric orange. So I need to make sure I know which one to lay down first. So I'm going to lay down the easyweed electric green.
You're doing a really, really good job on the names of the colors, Joe.
You're making me really nervous because I'm on the Michael spot here. I would tack it 1 second. Hopefully works. Nope. Not enough time. All right. Give it a couple more seconds when it's on an uneven amount. If that was a shirt, we'd be good. And as you see, if you get a little lifting, don't be discouraged. You can lay it back down and press it again. All right, so now I will do the easyweed electric white.
Yes, good, very good.
Yes. We did it. We did it, team. How many people have used easyweed electric before? I want to see some comments flying. What do you guys? Do you like the easyweed electric? It's one of my personal favorites at Siser. I use it all the time. It's great for this time of year. Yes, that's right. We're in my favorite time of the year. I love Halloween. Here we go.
Lots of people are loving it, Joe.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
So much
I'm not
pressure
making
right
this up.
now.
I know. They do want to know if that is parchment paper that you're using.
Yeah. Yep. This is just regular parchment paper. If you use any of those sorts of papers, like the meat paper or whatever it is, it has a shiny coating to it. Just be cautious with those because shining coating can influence the finish of transfer vinyl. So what's great about regular parchment paper is it will keep a matte finish to it. So, all right, the last one is, I only know it by our name, but this is one of my personal favorites in the easyweed electric line, and we call it easyweed tungsten. Is it tungsten? Catherine, don't
Yes.
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 Yes, that's a 5 for 5. We did it. Woo! All right.
Good job.
Thank you. I was so nervous. All right. So this is the very last layer of this project, but I am going to only tack this down for a second because if you can look on my screen right now, you see how this carrier sheet is kind of going over the under layers of this. If you've ever dealt with layering heat transfer vinyl on top of each other and you've seen these carriers kind of placed over your under layers, it will cause that line. It will cause that little impression that nobody really likes, right? So what you can do in this case is we're going to tack it, excuse me, tack it for a couple seconds, peel hot, and now I'm going to go back, fully cover the entire design, and press it for an entirety of about 10 seconds. So that's 5 colors. Each color got 1 to 2 seconds on this, but you want to make sure you still go back and press it for a full time. Again, I'm only following for textiles, but you know, I want to make sure it's sticking around. So you guys ready? Check it out. How sweet is that? Right before your eyes.
Wow.
Of the easyweed electric. This is heat transfer vinyl on here. Now, that's why I always say, people say, well, why not just use decal vinyl? Because sometimes using the heat transfer vinyl like this gives that effect that you're not going to be able to achieve with decal vinyl. So this is just one example of it. Again, easyweed electric is one of my personal favorites to use on garments, but as you can see, it can make a decorative thing really pop. Again, this is a file that was used from those cuttable clip art book packs, so this is just one of them. Does anyone have questions on this, and we can cruise along to the next one?
There is a question on parchment paper. Tanya bought the heat transfer cover sheet for her heat press. Can she use that, or does she have to use the parchment paper?
No, you can use that too. I personally like the parchment paper. The other heat press cover sheet that you may have seen me use, or you're referring to, is what we call a Teflon sheet, even though we're not allowed to say Teflon because it's, you know, whatever. It's a non-stick cover sheet. The problem about that is it can get really hot. So the more you use it under a heat press or a home iron, it'll actually start retaining that heat. So you kind of want to be careful on using it over a lot of things, especially when it's fully exposed, because it could have a potential to either leave a really shiny impression on it or maybe lift up one of your layers. So I like using parchment paper, but either or is going to be fine. Just be a little weary of it. All right.
There was another question for you, Joe. How do you know what order to press down the different layers? Is it just based on how you cut it?
Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about with this one, because this one's and these things. So, thank you, Catherine.
Just doing my job.
All right, so that's a great segue into what we're going to talk about. This one I just did is going to be how you cut it. So obviously, as you saw, you got the entire orange easyweed electric as your base, and then you're going to layer all of these on top of that. So you're basically just figuring out, okay, well, I start here, and then I can place my colors as they kind of fit. You know what I mean? The next project's going to be a little bit more tricky, not really for this, but if it were for garments, because the next project I'm doing is all Siser glitter. Now, just to give you guys a heads up on Siser glitter, is on this case, I actually am layering the glitter on top of each other, but that is only because this is on something that isn't going to be washed. So it is very important to know the actual placement of each layer and kind of pay attention to those when you are doing your application. So when you get these cuttable clip art books, the files are already broken up. So they're going to be broken up by colors. Obviously, you can change the colors. You can manipulate them however you want. But when you do your cutting, I should say you should also pre-plan how you're going to be placing it onto your substrate. So I already have all my cut pieces cut and weeded. So what I'm doing here, and maybe we could switch to the other camera view, because what I'm going to show you, what's great about the Siser glitter is it does have that pressure sensitive backing. Yes, these plaques kind of, they shed. All right, so I'm going to show you kind of what I did here, kind of reverse engineer it. So I have my layers already cut. What I like to do is after they're cut, I kind of already place them on top of one another to get the placement of how it's going to go down on my project. So in this case, I started with my black glitter down. I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to then take my green glitter and kind of piece it into each character. And like I said, you'll see it when you get these art book packs, and you'll notice how they're broken down. And what I'm going to do is kind of just puzzle piece these into itself, so when I get to my next project, I can then lay it all down to find my placement and then work back from there. So then I'm going to lay this down. But there are going to be a couple cases for this one where I am going to be layering directly on top of one another. But like I had mentioned before, if you are going on a garment with Siser glitter, try to avoid layering on itself. We don't recommend layering glitter on top of glitter. The reason why is because it doesn't really hold up in the wash. So that's the reason why we say no. But if it is going on something that isn't going to be laundered, or maybe you don't care, one-time use, then you can layer on itself. That's completely fine. I just I say try to avoid it. All right. Does that make sense? Everything I just went, we're going to get onto the application. Everyone good?
Looking good, Joe.
All right. So we can switch back over. All right. Same as before. Not changing my temperature. Just maybe make sure that the thickness of this plaque is about what the other one was. So I'm still going to just kind of test it. All right. Looks like we're good there. Just make sure you have a flat surface. These things really should. All right. Okay, so what I mean is I'm going to lay this whole transfer down on this plaque to find my placement. Now, it's very, very important to remember, you cannot press it like this. So you need to take the time to kind of, if you can, peel back everything as one piece if you're able to do that. So my very first layer that's going down happens to be my white glitter. So I'm going to lay down my white glitter first, and then I'm going to just kind of piece it along the way and kind of build my my full design from the bottom up. And now every file in these clip art book packs it's made for any kind of heat transfer vinyl or decal vinyl. So it's not like this design is only for glitter. That's another thing to remember. It's completely up to you and how you want to utilize it. It's just free, or it's just vector artwork rather. All right, so the first layer is just our white glitter. I'm gonna press that down for a couple seconds, and then you can peel our white glitter hot, or our glitter, I should say. All right, so that didn't get enough pressure. And the reason for the fast application that I like to do is, again, I'm used to doing it on garments. The reason that quick application and that 1 second tack is very important is because if you've ever dealt with lining things up when you get to the top in the registration and everything doesn't really line up correctly, that's because your garment was shrinking under your home iron or your Cricut Easy Press or the heat press. So in this case, obviously working with wood, I'm not going to deal with it shrinking down. So I still like the fast application. Okay, so the next layer I'm going to line up is, looks like it is one of these characters. Also be cautious when you're working under the heat of this heat press.
Hey Joe, how would they find like the right temperature settings for the different bases?
I'm sorry?
How would they go about finding the right temperature settings for the different bases? Surfaces.
Different temperature settings for the different bases.
Yeah, like t-shirt versus the wood plaque.
Yes. So, like I said, this kind of project, what I'm showing you today is an experiment. Look at it that way. There really isn't a correct answer that we can give you because, again, these materials are made for clothing. We absolutely have all the application recommendations when it comes to using these products on garments. But when it comes to other substrates and other surfaces, we don't have anything for that because, again, this is just experimental. If you called my tech support right now at Siser North America, they'd be like, what are you doing? And you'd be like, that weird guy told me you can do this. But I'm just telling you, like, this is something outside of the box for you. So my only recommendation is if you know our heat transfer vinyl that you can use on garments, I just say follow that. And so, like I said, I'm set right now to 315 degrees. So that's in between both the easyweed electric and the glitter. So there really isn't a wrong or right answer. As long as you see it applied on your substrate, then you should be good to go. I'm sorry if that wasn't like a legit answer, but I'm just experimenting for you guys. All right, we're gonna press this next color, which is copper glitter. The copper, Catherine?
You keep putting me on the spot.
Well, you told me I need to list the names, so there wasn't enough time for that. Okay. So we're gonna place this back on here, and if you guys are seeing what I'm doing, all I'm doing is just taking each layer of my design off and applying it one by one, which is what we have to do in this case. And this is strictly for this design. Obviously, if you're not using a design like this, then you can apply it however you see fit. But this is what I recommend when you're layering, or what we call the knockout method, with our glitter heat transfer vinyls. Okay, the next one is, I believe, light green glitter, right, Catherine?
I think that sounds good.
Oh my goodness.
I'm working on finding a link for everybody.
All right, so this next example is a prime example of showing you layering on the glitter, which again is something that we would not recommend, but I'm going to do it since we're on a wood plaque.
You were right with copper and light green. Good job. I am prepared now for your next pop quiz for me.
Okay, well the next one is just black, unless you made it some other color.
Well, there's black and there's galaxy black. Which one is it?
It is not galaxy black. Okay. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm layering this black glitter. Some of the attributes, the facial expressions are actually going to be layered over the underbase. So the one for the Frankenstein is going to be layered on top of the light green glitter. This one is going to go over the white, and this one's going to go over the copper. Again, just because it's a project like this is where I'm giving you the A-OK for it. If this was going on a shirt, I would probably say not to do that and actually cut this out.
There's a question, can you use the subtract function so you aren't layering?
Absolutely. But like I said, these files that come in the art book pack are already set up. They're set up to give you that subtract file type already. So you really don't need to do too much manipulation of these files. Okay, so my next color, well, actually this is my last color, is going to be our glitter red. Is it red, Catherine?
Yep, it is.
Okay. Now, I'm going to press this for the full duration. I know I showed you with the easyweed electric to do this tack because it's going to leave the line. But with the Siser glitter heat transfer vinyl, it's already a very rigid material. So it actually won't get those impression marks the way it does with the electric. So you don't have to worry about it. But here we go. Another awesome finished product. Check it out. Look at that glimmer. Wow.
That is pretty cool.
Isn't that cool? The white doesn't, it's just the down here, but you know, for those that have used the Siser glitter before, you know that it has that shimmer to it. But yeah, well, these are the two awesome projects you just saw. Heat transfer vinyl onto these wood plaques. Again, this is just an out-of-the-box idea for something that you can do, especially this month coming up. Both of those file types are available with these art book, clip art books, rather. So when you open it up, again, I know it's hard to see, but these are all the different SVG EPS, I believe, are in there. So they work with any vinyl cutter that you have. So if you have anything that cuts vinyl that you use at home, these files will work with that. You can absolutely go in and manipulate them however you want. So that's what's really beautiful about it. You can add stuff. My class next week, or for those that are watching later, it's October 9th. I will be showing another example from these, but with how I added something else to it, and it's going to be applying with the heat transfer vinyl that's brand new to the Michael store too that we didn't talk about today. Make sure you sign up for that. And yeah, does anyone have any questions on what we just showed today?
There's a couple questions. That clip art is available at Michael's, both in store and online. Very excited about that. There was a question a little bit earlier. Can you keep reusing parchment paper?
Yeah, yes. Parchment paper, I mean, you'll notice when it starts going, and that's basically when you start seeing it turning yellow. And that's just because over time you're cooking it And then also it will start pulling, especially if you're doing things like wood, which you might notice with the wood, depending on how hot you go. So you really, really want to experiment with it because you might end up actually turning the wood a little yellow itself. So the parchment paper is another thing that, like, for those that are now maybe curious about sublimation, which is a new offering that Michaels is going to have and has right now. But when it comes to sublimation is important to have a cover sheet when you're using a heat press, which is really how you mainly have to apply it at a high temperature. And to use what was asked earlier, other cover sheets that have the non-stick cover to it, those are a little bit more expensive, number one. And then when you get into using inks, if the ink stains that cover sheet, it's done. You really can't use it, so you got to throw it away. So what's awesome about parchment paper is it comes in a really big roll and it's pretty disposable. So you can reuse a sheet over and over again, but if you happen to get some sublimation ink on it or other types of ink on it, I would never recommend putting it back under a heat press and laying it over something. So you want to pitch that, get another piece, but you can reuse this a handful of times.
Cool.
Any other questions?
I'm looking through. Could you coat that wood slice, like if you did want to put it outdoors, could you seal it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that goes a little bit above and beyond my personal pay grade. I've never done it before, but I know that that's definitely something that I've seen people do before with our PSV. So the Easy PSV, which is our decal vinyl, which I had mentioned. So when they do that and they put it on something decorative with wood, they sometimes will end up sealing over it, which you can absolutely do. It's going to make it last that much longer. You know, in some cases you may or may not want to. In the case of obviously the glitter. So for those that have never used our glitter heat transfer vinyl like this, I mean, it's got a very glittery sandpaper feel to it. So if you put a coating over it, it's going to take that away. And I don't know if it'll actually mute the obviously the reflective element of the glitter, which is what is most alluring. Like glitter, our glitter heat transfer vinyl is most certainly the one that most people want to try to use on things that aren't just shirts. And that's why I wanted to show you a possibility with it, because we also have a glitter Easy PSV, which is available at Michael's, but it's more of a flat glitter. This has that texture to it, which really adds to the overall effect.
Cool. Well, everything that Joe used is available at Michael's. If you're not able to go physically to the store, there's curbside pickup. You can order it online. Some stores have same-day delivery as well. So please make sure that you go check out your local Michael's store, michaels.com. As always, thank you guys so much for joining us, and a huge thank you to Joe for sharing this time with us and teaching us. Like he said, we do have another class coming up. Lots of different classes to help you guys, you know, keep making. Go ahead and check out all of our classes online, sign up, learn something new. And I think that's it. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you all. Thank you, Michaels. Thank you, each and every one of you that took the time out of the day to watch it. I hope this video helped. As always, like, show some love if it was good. Let me know what I could do better. We've been doing, I thank Michaels every time. This has probably been like my 12th or 15th, something in that area of classes we've done since the quarantine. Yeah, we plan on doing many more, and we're in October, folks. October, so much time to start doing some awesome projects. Again, I am a fanatic for Halloween, but this is a big month all around. We have the breast cancer awareness, so let's show some support for those this month too. Do some stuff, bring that creativity. Now's the time to really shine. And then everything I showed you today and much more from Siser is available at your Michael's store. So definitely go check that out. And we're always here to help. So thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll be back very soon.